Good morning, folks. Today is Sunday, the 21st of August, 2022, here in downtown Sydney. I'm actually going to visit my father on this drive. I thought I'd do a little video to edify the church. Look, first of all the apologies for the portrait view on this video. It's actually, I'm driving and my Samsung phone is so big that if I was to put it on landscape on my phone cradle here on the windscreen, it will actually fall off. It's actually a large phone. I think it's a 6.6, and so I do apologize for all of the above, but I think I'll probably end up doing another video like this in downtown Sydney tomorrow, which I have to go, and I will probably make a better video of what I'm saying today tomorrow. But just a heads up to edify the church. Now, I wanted to talk about the rapture of the church and the three remaining feasts that Israel has to fulfill. We know that Jesus already fulfilled the first four, and he's got three remaining feasts, and they are Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, the Feast of Atonement, and Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, now there's a lot of Bible scholars who have written books and who are on social media on various platforms saying that in their view, and I respect their view, that the rapture of the church can only occur during the Feast of Trumpets or during Yom Teruah. Now, I actually have a different view on that. First of all, in my opinion, I just don't think that the rapture of the church is going to happen during this year's Yom Teruah between September the 25th and September the 27th. If you people watch my videos, you know that I have been telling you for quite a while that we are on Israel's timetable, because right now the church has to realize that, and please listen carefully, the church now has to realize that we are not, it isn't about the church age anymore. Right now, at the back end of the church age, it's all about God preparing its nation of Israel, so that they can go straight, into the tribulation period. And so, before the rapture of the church, like I've been saying for quite a while, we're going to have the fulfillment of four much about prophecies, so that Israel can actually be at peace in order to go into the tribulation. Now, until Israel fulfills these four much of prophecies that I'm about to tell you, and which you probably already know, Israel cannot go into the tribulation period, because they need to be at peace, because we know that the two witnesses, Moses and Elijah, are going to be coming into Israel to oversee the rebuild of the third temple. So the four Bible prophecies are Isaiah 17.1, the Elam Barrel prophecy in Jeremiah 49 verses 34 to 39. Let me get on the slow line here. Obviously the secret word of 38-39, and the signing of the covenant in either Daniel 9:27 or Isaiah 28:15. Don't forget that Isaiah was a prophet that came before Daniel. Okay, so I just wanted to make you realize that now. So, because we are no longer under the law, okay, this is one of the things where Bible scholars, in my view, are making a little bit of a mistake here. But at the same time, I completely understand the teaching when it comes to, Jesus having to fulfill the seven feasts, and that, the three remaining ones, Jesus has to do it during the feast, the Feast of Israel, or the remaining three Feasts of Israel, if you like, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and Tabernacles. I can understand that teaching, and I sympathize with the teaching. I completely understand. So let me just say that, and so that you people know that I completely understand where you're coming from. But, and here is the big but that most Bible scholars forget. If you read the book of Galatians, it completely says, especially from Galatians, say 3:19, Galatians 3:19 to Galatians 3:29, if you read Galatians, specifically Galatians 3:24, it says that we are no longer under the law. The law was the schoolmaster, and now that Jesus has come, for his death, burial, and resurrection, he has fulfilled the law. So now we are justified by faith alone. Israel is no longer under the law. So, and because Israel is no longer under the law, this means that Israel no longer has to live under its former law, agricultural seventh feast. We all know that during the period of the law, Israel had to abide by the Torah. They had to live under the 7-year agricultural feast, if you like, commanded by God and under the Torah. But since Jesus' arrival 2,000 years ago, Jesus came not to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. So Israel no longer has to abide by these or live by this 7-year agricultural feast cycle, And so I highly recommend that Bible scholars read and understand, pretty much understand what Galatians is trying to say there, what Paul is trying to say in Galatians, from Galatians 3:19 to Galatians 3:29. We are no longer under the law. And so because we are no longer under the law, Jesus doesn't have to fulfill, I repeat, and listen carefully, Jesus does not have to fulfill the 3 reminder feast under the law, because Jesus fulfilled the law when he came 2,000 years ago. And so the rapture of the church can happen not at any moment, in my view, not at any moment, because it just wouldn't make sense, like I've been saying for quite a while, in that if the rapture of the church were to happen tomorrow, Israel is not prepared. How can Israel, if say for example we go to the rapture of the church tomorrow, for argument's sake, and we haven't fulfilled the 4 prophecies that I just told you on top of my video, like Isaiah 17:1, Jeremiah 49 verses 34 to 39, in other words, the Elam Bala prophecy, the Ezekiel war, and the signing of the covenant. How can Israel be in the tribulation period without fulfilling those 4 much about prophecies? That they can be the next dispensation also has to add up in terms of Bible prophecies, and Israel needs to be at peace. It just wouldn't make any sense, Israel being at the tribulation period tomorrow without the fulfillment of these 4 Bible prophecies. It just doesn't add up, no matter which angle you want to look at it. And so it's not a requirement for Jesus to fulfill the 3 reminder feast under the law. Now, so I highly encourage Bible scholars to study Galatians 3:19 to 3:29. So, in my opinion, the rapture of the church is actually going to be the fulfillment of Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets, because don't forget when Paul says at the last trump. So in my view, Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets, is actually going to be celebrated in heaven, okay? And then at the last trump, like Paul says, Jesus is going to meet us in the air, and that will be the fulfillment of Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets. Now, the feast of what do you call it? The feast of the feast of during the tribulation period. That will be the tribulation period will be the atonement, or Yom Kippur, if you like, and because Jesus is going to send the 2 witnesses. And God is going to make the atonement by sending the 2 witnesses, and also God is also going to send the angel with the everlasting gospel, according to the book of Revelation. But we don't know how long this angel is going to be preaching the everlasting gospel. The book of Revelation doesn't precisely say if it's going to be 1 day, 1 week, 3.5 years, or the full 7 years of the tribulation period. So it doesn't really say. Now, the fulfillment of the Tabernacles or Sukkot will be done with Jesus' second coming. So that's my view on it. And another thing that you have to realize is that Jesus, once we have the Feast of Trumpets, once we have the rapture of the church, which in my view fulfills, Yom Teruah, then ask yourself this question: how can Jesus then come exactly according to Israel's calendar on a day to fulfill the feast of Yom Kippur or the Feast of Atonement? After the rapture of the church, ask yourself this question: can in any time during those 7 years, can Jesus come down to Israel on a Yom Kippur or a Feast of Atonement day to fulfill that feast? Absolutely not, because Jesus is dishing out his 7-year growth plan, and we know who's going to be ruling there in the 7 years. The first 3.5, the Antichrist, and then the remaining 3.5 will be the Satan himself, the devil. He's going to reincarnate into the man of sin, who's going to die after 3.5 years. We know this. The Bible tells us this. So, it's not like Jesus is going to come down to fulfill this Feast of Atonement anytime during the tribulation period. And we know that Jesus obviously is going to come to fulfill the Feast of Tabernacles or Sukkot, at the end of the tribulation period. So, so we know that the rapture then, by saying this, is that the rapture is actually going to be the fulfillment of the feast of Yom Teruah, okay? Because how else can Jesus then fulfill it? Jesus cannot fulfill one of the three remainder feasts. In other words, Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, when he comes back at the millennial kingdom. It just cannot be done, because that would be the fulfillment of the Tabernacles. And so, can Jesus come, touch down to come and fulfill the Feast of Atonement or Yom Kippur during the 7-year tribulation period? No, he can do it then. So that's what this leads me to believe, without a choice, that because Jesus cannot fulfill the atonement during the 7-year tribulation period. This leads me to believe then that Jesus can only rock up 2 times. He can only rock up for the rapture of the church. Okay, that's fulfilling Yom Teruah or the Feast of Trumpets. He has to send the 2 witnesses and the angel preaching the everlasting gospel during Yom Kippur to fulfill the Feast of Atonement or Yom Kippur. And when Jesus comes back for the millennial kingdom with us, the saints, that will be the fulfillment of Tabernacles, if you like. So that's why I've been saying this for quite a while now. And what I see, sorry about all the shakiness here. So what I see here, the problem is that Bible scholars think that Jesus has to fulfill all these under the law. We are no longer under the law. Jesus doesn't have to come, for the rapture of the church during Israel's current calendar, and under Yom Teruah in September, or sometimes Yom Teruah is actually on October. So Jesus doesn't have to do this. We are no longer under the law. Jesus fulfilled the law. So if you read Galatians, you will know this. Galatians from 3:19 to 3:29 will make you realize what I'm saying here, that we are no longer under the law, and so Jesus can fulfill the 3 remaining feasts, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, whenever it would be necessary, because Like I said, the tribulation period cannot start until Israel fulfills its 4 Bible prophecies, like I said on top of my video. We are on Israel's timetable right now. It's not so much about the church anymore, like I've been saying for a while. No, it's not about the church. We are at the end of the church age. God now has to prepare Israel, and God is going to prepare Israel by getting rid of these 4 Bible prophecies, and then once this is done, it will take Israel into the trip. And so the rapture of the church will happen once these 4 are out of the way, these 4 Bible prophecies. And when we come at the rapture, that will be Jesus' fulfillment. Just to wrap this up, it'll be Jesus' fulfillment of Yom Teruah. The atonement will be done, will be the fulfillment of Yom Kippur during the tribulation period by Jesus sending the 2 witnesses and the angel to preach the everlasting gospel, because Jesus cannot come down from heaven to earth because he's actually opening up the seals and dishing out God's wrath. So he needs to fulfill the atonement feast by sending the 2 witnesses, Moses and Elijah, and also this angel to preach the everlasting gospel. That will be the fulfillment of the atonement. Then don't forget that I decipher for you Moses in Malachi 3.1, and obviously Elijah is there, I think, in Malachi 4.5, I believe. I think it was, 4.5. So we know for sure that it's going to be Moses and Elijah 100%. And also Revelation 11 alludes to Moses and Elijah, not to mention, that Moses and Elijah appeared unto Jesus in Mount Tabor during the Transfiguration. So, and the Feast of Tabernacles, we'll fulfill when we come back with Jesus for the millennial kingdom. So that's it, folks, with this video. I know that my talk wasn't very smooth. I had a lot on my mind to say this to you, and my video here is probably all shaky, and it's actually on portrait. It's not even on landscape, so it's not that great. But this is a video heads up that I'm gonna be saying all this tomorrow. God willing, I'm gonna go to downtown. I'm gonna go and do a few things, and I'm gonna show you my face again and make a proper video out of this. So bear this in mind, folks, that we are not under the law. Just to recap, read Galatians from 3:19 to 3:29. It will make you realize that Jesus doesn't have to come and fulfill these 3 remaining feasts under the law, because we are no longer under the law. And the only way that Jesus can fulfill these 3 remaining feasts is by executing the rapture, being the fulfillment of Yom Teruah. The atonement will be done during the tribulation period, and Tabernacles during the millennial kingdom, when we come back with Jesus for the 1,000 year reign with Jesus, millennium reign, if you like. Sorry about my accent. I apologize for all the above, if you know what I mean. All the technical issues and whatever. So, but I'll get to downtown Sydney tomorrow, and I apologize for my really bad accent and everything else. Apologies for all the baddies, and I'll make a proper video tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.